Goeiedag, we gaan dit. My name is Wildkard. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here and watching my content. As always, it is my pleasure and the absolute privilege to entertain you with some rugby related content. You are here because you are extremely angry because you are asking yourself, why? How could this be? Why is Damian Valenza starting at number 10 jersey against the mighty All Blacks this weekend? Have the coaches lost their mind? Guys, just calm down for a second, okay? This is actually a really smart thing that Rassie Erasmus has done once again this weekend. Now, first of all, this is not the first time that Rassie has done this, putting Damian Valenza at 10 in big matches. He's done this last year in the November Test Series, but this is by far the biggest and most important game Damian Valenza has been put into under the 10 jersey, right? Now, this one, in the Rugby World Cup, there is the concussion protocol is there is a mandatory step-down period that rules the player out from playing the next match, the match on the next weekend. So if anybody gets a HRA in the semi-finals, they will not be allowed to play in the final. So with Handré Pollard currently looking a bit shaky with his injuries on his leg, Manny Lebok, should anything happen to him in the Rugby World Cup, Damian Valenza will be the one that's going to be playing potentially in the final in the 10 jersey. And there's no better way to prepare him for that role, that critical role, than putting him in the most difficult cauldron in the world that is against the All Blacks in most hostile place on earth in New Zealand in the 10 jersey. There's a reason I keep saying this every week. Damian Valenza is the greatest Springbok in the history of the Springboks. Because he's that important. His role of covering the entire backline for the Springboks, for all injuries, he has to be a world-class player out of every position in the backline for the Springboks to function. And if anybody goes down, he's there. And he's gonna have to be there to win huge matches for the Springboks. And that is not something that anybody can do. And that is why this is really smart by Rassie Erasmus. And that is why I keep calling him the greatest Springboks in the history of the Springboks. So with that being said, let's look at this lineup this weekend. As you are all clicked on this video for, Eben Etzebeth has been announced as the captain, and there's been a few changes in the backline. I'm very surprised, actually, that Curly Arlenza is not selected in the wing position. Obviously, Rassie Erasmus wants to give everybody an opportunity to play in their respective position, but Curly Arlenza has consistently been selected as the premier winger for the Springboks since the November Test Series last year. Makazole Mapimpi gets his jersey back essentially at number 11. But yeah, some shuffling in the back team, but this is looking as strong as you can possibly be, with the exception of Damian Valenza. A lot of you guys will be still screaming about at 10. But yeah, let's go through the team and see what the Springbok has installed to really, poke the bear a little bit in New Zealand this weekend. First up, coming in number 15, Willie Roux has been tremendously well for Springboks in recent times. The playmaking he showed last week was absolutely spectacular. The kicking game, the calm, the experience that he showed at the fullback position when it comes to the high ball, and that's something that New Zealand would like to do with Damian McKenzie in the Chiefs. They do a lot of kicking game, so Willie Roux' job will be incredibly important this weekend in managing those attacking options that New Zealand likes to throw with Damian McKenzie at 10. Number 14 is Cheslin Kolbe, comes back, and to think that Cheslin Kolbe, he was the best winger in the world, potentially second in line to Curly Arlenza, is actually insane. Speaks so much depth in the Springbok squad. So Cheslin Kolbe comes in number 14. Lukamiu gets the outside center position once again. Yeah, just unbelievable. He's basically Eben Etzebeth in the back for the backs for the Springboks. Number 13, Lukamiu. Damien Dialendi did not play last week. Comes in for the 12 jersey ahead of who was it? Andre Esterhuizen, who did, I thought he did really well last week. A lot of hard running, And Damien Delindy does bring a little bit more playmaking out of the 12 jersey. But yeah, Andre Hesterhuizen, just for playing that traditional 12 role, hard running, hard crash balls, did really, really well last week. Number 11, Marco Zordo Mapimpi gets the winger jersey once that everybody's kind of accustomed to in these days. And number 10, the greatest Springbok in the world, Damian Willemse gets that jersey. Faf de Klerk returns to number 9. He gets that over Jaden Hendricks last week that started number 9? No, it was Cobus Reinhardt started number 9. I think Hendricks might be injured still. Is he still injured? Yeah. So yeah, Faf de Klerk gets a 9 jersey. Jasper Visa gets caught in at number 8. Franco Moster gets caught in at number 7. And Huaga Smith gets caught in at number 6. That's a complete different backline there for the Springboks. Number 5, Lou Diaga. And number 4, Eben Esmith, also completely different from last week. So last week, I think it was Pieter-Steph du Toit. It was Pieter-Steph du Toit and Klein. Who was it? Marco van Staden was on was on number 8, I think, and then Dwayne Vermeulen. So it was Pieter-Steph du Toit, Dwayne Vermeulen, and Marco van Staden in loose forwards, and you have Klein and Marvin Ori at locks. So completely changed completely changed loose forwards and locks for the Springboks. In the forward pack, the front row was stayed the same from last week. Franz Herbe, number 3, Bungi Mbanabi at number 2, and Stephen Kitsoff comes in at the starting prop position at loose head position. Number 16, Malcolm Marks replacing Joseph Dweeba. Number 17, Thomas du Toit. And number 18, Vincent Koch retains that number 17-18 jersey like they were last week. RG Snyman will be coming off the bench once again like he did last week. Pieter-Steph du Toit has been put on the bench in place of Evan Ross. And Dwayne the Rock Vermeulen gets number 21 jersey as the sixth forward in the replacement for the Springboks. I think he's replacing, who did he replace out on the bench for the Springboks last week? Who was it? Anyway, I can't remember. Number 20 is Grant Williams, which stays the same. Number 23, Manny Lebok gets dropped to the bench. Last week was Damian Willemse on number 23 jersey. And that is the team, guys. This is potentially not even the strongest team the Springboks could consider. Like I said, Curdy Alensa definitely deserved one of the wingers jerseys. And and with Ox Unchez still injured, he could definitely be a stronger start than Stephen Kitsoff at number 1 jersey. And this Springboks team extremely scary. And also potentially at number 9, Hendricks is potentially a better 9 at this point of, at this moment in time, could potentially be slightly better than Faf de Klerk at number 9 jersey as well. So yeah, the Springboks could actually summon an even stronger team. And we'll have to see how this team. And obviously, Sia Khaleesi is racing back from an ACL injury, so he could be taking on that 6 jersey, bolstering the forward pack even further. So yeah, this is an absolutely scary team, and they're really looking to take some names from New Zealand. But the All Blacks look pretty good on the weekend, so it's gonna be a difficult task regardless. Anyway, so Eddie Jones had a bit of a blow up after the game. He looked really, really surprised a little bit in the interview that we got absolutely destroyed on the weekend. So I had to think about this a little bit. Just imagine yourself in this situation, right, guys? Imagine you go to work and your boss constantly tells everybody that it's going to replace you. Not only that he's going to replace you, he's going to replace you for somebody that's going to take 3 times more money than you. How would you feel going to work under those circumstances? That is that's the situation facing all the Wallaby players. Eddie Jones, Rugby Australia, has openly offering contracts to rugby league players here in Australia for massive money. 2-3 times the money the players are currently getting. They've already done it with Joseph Swali'i, 4.8 million over 3 years, the biggest contract ever been offered to a 19-year-old whose previous experience including playing high school rugby, right? And then rugby league for the Roosters. And, that's just ridiculous money, and that, I think, is probably the reason why we lost on the weekend. The team is demoralized. Not because we don't have the talent. The team is absolutely demoralized off the field, and I don't think anybody can put in their best work under the circumstances I just described to you. Right? You have, like, it's really, really stupid what Rugby Australia has done. But yeah, Eddie Jones had a bit of blow up. Some South African media guy basically asking me about the B team. He said, "Hey Eddie, you expressed your disappointment in the week that you weren't playing the first choice Springbok side. Is that a bit of a relief now?" And Eddie Jones basically went off saying that he was really disrespectful, being a bit of a smartass. And then he stormed out of the interview. So it was really a little bit funny. And yeah, Eddie Jones post-match interview with Stan Sport, really, he looked surprised, to be honest. I feel bad. He looked surprised that we were so outgunned. But like I said, I feel like it's largely due to Rugby Australia doing such a terrible job behind the scenes, demoralizing all the players. A lot of people are leaving Australia for overseas for a reason. So the other game of the weekend, obviously the mighty All Blacks played Argentina in Mendoza, and that was a really comprehensive performance, especially in the first half. All Blacks ran away with 38 points to 0 by half time. Second half, technically Argentina lost the second half, won the second half, 12 points, scoring 12 points to All Blacks, I think 10. So technically All Blacks lost the second half, but man, that first half performance was super, super good. Riku Ioane, Jordy Barrett really show that they take it another level once they put on the black jersey. But the center combination we're facing their biggest challenge this weekend against the Springboks, and also the 4-pack. The All Blacks clearly did a lot of work off the field with their 4-pack, with the front row, with the set piece, with scrummaging. They're really putting a lot of emphasis into that. You can tell. And against the Springboks, this will be, in my opinion, the battle for the two biggest and strongest 4-packs battling out for supremacy. And no disrespect to Ireland, but I think the All Blacks front rowers and the South African front rowers are the best two in the world. And whoever wins this weekend in that battle, it's going to be the best front rowers in the world, right? I have no disrespect to Ireland, but that is just, they're looking so good at the moment. I find it very difficult to not make that statement. So yeah, that was the game between South Africa and Argentina, 41 points to 12. So yeah, Argentina actually won the second half. So again, that's a massive challenge for the Wallabies coming up this weekend, facing the Argentina with Michael Cheika in charge, who knows quite a bit about the Australian side as the former coach. So yeah, let's move overseas for a little bit. I'll go to Northern Hemisphere. Scotland has announced. Let's go to the bigger news in Scotland first. First up, in Scotland, let's go to this bit of news first. Stuart Hogg has announced his retirement ahead of the Rugby World Cup. He was originally planning to retire after the Rugby World Cup, but he announced this last week that he was going to retire. He didn't really feel like his body was handling it, and he's one of the best fullbacks in the world, a legend for the Scottish team, and it's such a huge missing. Scotland's going to miss a huge chunk of their talent without the game plan, without Stuart Hogg's kicking game. Probably the best in Six Nations at the moment. And I'm actually really disappointed for Scotland. And, I really enjoy watching Stuart Hogg play, to be frank. One of my favorite players out of the Scotland team. And very disappointing for everyone as a rugby fan. But that is what it is. Really disappointing. But with that being said, the Scottish team, Scotland also announced there's a woman named Ruth Davison being put into the board of the Scottish Rugby, I say like non-executive board member. But yeah, there was a lot of people signing petitions for her to be removed. She is a politician and she is very divisive, apparently, from my understanding, and she supported there was the Scottish independence vote, like she supported to stay with UK, so she was very like, so a lot of people didn't just the fact that she's basically half the country don't really like her because her stance when it comes to Scottish independence. That's my understanding. I could be completely wrong, and makes her a really divisive person, and people don't really want that. A lot of fans don't really want that someone like that representing the national team, as a member of the national team's board member. So people are really unhappy. There's like a petition going, like lots of people have signed it, asking for her removal. But anyway, moving on. So back to New Zealand. TJ Perenara has signed a 2-year deal with the All Blacks, and yeah, that's a pretty huge return. He has a bit of an Achilles injury, and but yeah, he's a huge player for the All Blacks and for the Hurricanes. Alan Wynne-Jones has found a new club, going to be playing for Toulon next season. He has retired from international test rugby. He has stepped away from Wales, and he's not going to be playing the Rugby World Cup this year, but he will be continuing as a club rugby player for Toulon. Noah Lolesio, speaking of Toulon is rumored to be going to Toulon as well next season. It has not been confirmed yet, but Noah Lolesio has been really falling out of favor with the Wallabies. He hasn't even been getting any starting time with the Brumbies. Yeah, he's been coming off the bench for the Brumbies, so he really hasn't performing. And yeah, to think that this guy was considered like the future of the Wallabies 5'8", to not really even making a start for the Brumbies. Yeah, really, really disappointing for Lolesio. He had a lot of promise. His goal kicking was quite good. But yeah. Anyway, it is what it is. He's going to be probably better off making more money overseas in Toulon and finding himself probably a better environment that he will enjoy a bit more. Tolo Latu, one of the overseas players for the Wallabies, has signed with Montpellier in France. And yeah, it is what it is. Jamie Joseph, the current head coach for Japan, has decided to end his run with Japan by the end of this Rugby World Cup. He's announced he's stepping down as the coach for the Brave Blossoms by the end of the Rugby World Cup. And yeah, he's been done pretty well for Japan, taking Japan into the quarterfinals last Rugby World Cup 2019, and that was against the Springboks, where they were pretty tight, holding on for the holding out the Springboks, who eventually won the competition. So really, really impressive performance by Japan last World Cup. So Jamie Joseph, yeah, even if he doesn't do well this one, I think he's cemented himself as one of the best coaches ever for that. Tana Umaga has been announced as the new head coach of Moana Pasifika after Aaron Major stepped down as the coach. Moana Pasifika had a pretty poor season. I felt they had a lot of talent, but wasn't really working out for them. And I felt like, yeah, Tana Umaga will probably, I don't know, instill some toughness into the team. Maybe at least Tana Umaga is my favorite All Black of all time. The reason I have a Hurricanes jersey is because I really admired Tana Umaga as a kid, and the Kampa o Pango, the first ever Kampa o Pango of the All Blacks haka, was led by Tana Umaga. And that was against South Africa, something that we will see this weekend. The Pango o Pango. Good news for South Africa. Willie Roux has signed a 3-year deal with the Bulls, coming back to play for South Africa in the URC. He was in Japan, and I guess, the URC is making a lot of more money than they were with Super Rugby, and the Bulls probably has more money, starting to recall all the players back, bringing out the big contracts, big money. And yeah, good to see that Willie Roux returns to South Africa. And also another big signing returning to the Bulls. Aka van der Merwe returns after his run with the Sales Sharks ended in England. And Aka van der Merwe is, correct me if I'm wrong, the brother of what's his name? The Scottish winger van der Merwe. What's his first name? Duhan van der Merwe. Yeah, so he's actually his brother. They don't really look like brothers, but he's actually their brother. So yeah, there was a bit of an incident on the weekend as well. Sam Kane, There was a pitch invader. Sam Cane decided to like really trip him over. Didn't really look good. He has issued apology afterwards. Truly a villain. Apparently the guy he tripped was a kid. So if we just quickly watch this, it looked pretty brutal. The kid runs around, and then Sam just bam. That's brutal, man. That is brutal. Like, that's probably a bit too far, Sam. Like, he probably didn't realize that it was a kid when he tripped him. But afterwards he was like, oh man, that's true villain, tripping over a kid like that. Yeah, you probably need to apologize to that, Sam. But it is what it is. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching my videos, guys. I really do appreciate it. We've got the previews coming up when the All Blacks announces their team on Thursday, so we'll have a full team comparison, lineup comparison when the All Blacks gets announced, and then we'll do the reactions and reviews on the weekend. We'll not be yelling. Hopefully, I might have to move my office to a different room so I don't wake people up. I do have an angry letter I said I was gonna read, but it's actually an essay. So I don't know if you can see how much they've written to me. See, it's gonna take me like 20 minutes to read through this letter. So I said I was gonna read it, but it's actually like way too much. You see, it's actually way too much to read. But yeah, very, very angry neighbors for the rant. 3 a.m. rant for me. I apologize, but yeah, I'll have to find a different office. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good week, and see you guys a bit later. Cheers.